Hello everyone. Welcome to the Ocean Sound Storytelling Channel. I am the storyteller. And today, I am so happy to be with you. You may be curled up under a blanket or listening with your ears on a soft pillow. Wherever you are, whatever the time, thank you for being here. Before we begin with an interesting story, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel, so I know you enjoy relaxing moments like this. Where are you from? Send me a little hello in the comments. I would love to know which corner of the world you are listening from. Now, relax your body. Close your eyes and let the gentle waves take you into a gentle story, a little strange, a little mysterious, but warm enough to lull you to sleep all night long. So, are you ready? Tonight's story begins drowning in the milk of the moon. I try to roll off the checkered blanket as Daddy desperately tries to wipe the sticky drips of mint chocolate from my ice cream-coated face before it reaches the new white blouse left exposed to stains. I promised your mom I wouldn't stain your shirt before dinner, he said, leaning down to whisper the words in my ears. I giggle, squirming in his arms. My eyes drift past the nearly empty playground to a pair of eyes in the bushes. The setting sun makes them glow. Daddy, look! The bush has eyes. He glances at where I'm pointing, and the eyes disappear. I gape after them. Nothing there, he says distractedly, going after my face with the wipes again. Now stop squirming, little worm. I giggle again, finally staying still for him to wipe half the mess off my face. The playgrounds are empty now. Movement catches my eye. Feet on the cold, crunchy grass. They're held by tearing sandals. Daddy! Look, I say, pointing at the owner of the feet. A girl stumbles towards us. He turns his head, startling when he sees the girl. Immediately, he turns to me. Go play on the playground, Lily. And don't get your shirt dirty, he says strictly. All right, Daddy, I say, planting my bare feet on the ground. I hurl myself towards the empty slides. When I manage to climb the slide, I look back out at Daddy. I can just make out his words to the girl. He's asking her how old she is. She says she's 17, gasping hysterically and glancing behind her frantically. What's wrong with her? I look down the slide, my eyes widening. The slide stretches out to the sharp mulch. Daddy, I can't get down. A small whimper escapes me as I look up. The girl is holding a knife. I'm not allowed to use those. Daddy raised his hands in the air. Speaking softer, she looks up at my cry. Daddy tries to move in front of her. Oh no, she says with a laugh. Is that your daughter? Don't you dare touch her. He snarls. She laughs, grabbing Daddy and dragging him towards the slide. They're standing at the bottom when I speak. Who are you? I ask. She smiles pure delight on every inch of her face. Do you know what a serial killer is? She asks. I shake my head no. Well, I go around, and when I see someone with pretty eyes, she brings the knife to Daddy's throat. I frown again. Knives are dangerous. She should be more careful. I take them out of people. That way I can look at them forever. Why do you have a knife? Knives are dangerous, I say. Can you help me down? I'm stuck up here, I say. No, Daddy bursts out. Lily, go the other way. Run. No, the girl says. You won't. Do you know what color your eyes are? She asks. I look at Daddy. He looks scared. They're quarter-colored, I say, reluctantly looking back at the girl. The girl laughs pure delight in every bit of the sound. You and your daddy's eyes are wonderful. She looks at Daddy, throwing him a smile. Lily, that's your name, right? Yes, I say. She smiles, laughing again. They're gray, like the milk of the moon, an ink-black iris drowning in the milk of the moon. She gives a soft groan of pleasure. Oh, that just sounds so beautiful, doesn't it, Lily? My eyebrows creased in confusion. The moon doesn't have milk. She sighs. Well, I think it's time to cut this meeting short. Where are you going? She smiles. Well, after I take your daddy's eyes, I'll go find a nice, pretty pair of amber ones. How will you take Daddy's eyes? I'll cut them out, she says. Just like this. She presses the tip of the knife to the skin just below his fuzzy eyebrows. He tells me to cover my eyes just before he starts screaming. 16 years, 43 days, 19 hours, and 37 minutes later. Hey Lily, how are you doing? I startle, looking up to see Mary on the other side of the receptionist's desk. Hey Mary, I'm all right. Why? She slides a newspaper article onto my desk, dragging her eyes from mine. IRISSTRIKESAGAIN. The famous Boston serial killer, nicknamed Iris for her obsession with her victim's eyes, strikes again. This time taking the life of a 43-year-old businessman, Trevor Clint, was found with his eyes carved out of his face and left dead. This victim sported violet eyes, a very rare eye color brought on by albinism. He was a family man, survived by his 2 daughters and wife. The police force wants to reassure the public they are doing everything they can to stop Iris. Anyone with any information on Iris is asked to come forward to police or call the following number. I slide the newspaper away before I can read anymore. Bullshit. They haven't done crap to find her. She's been roaming around, killing man after man. Half the world is too stuck up to believe that it's a her. The other half is so busy being offended by the misogynistic asses who refuse to accept it. Could be a woman they forget that the real problem is the serial killer. The police force is too worried about drunk teenagers and day-late taxes that nobody bothers to look for her until they don't have the eyes to look. I'm taking the day off, I say sharply. Mary opens her mouth for a moment, then shuts it. I clench my teeth, grabbing the newspaper, and quickly slip it into my bag. I navigate the room full of sympathetic eyes. I hate eyes. Hate them more than anything else on the human body. Hate the way they move. Hate the way they follow every movement. More than anything, I hate the way they look when they're carved out of someone's head. I rap on the door to my boss's office. His muffled voice gives me permission to enter. I walk into his office, head downcast. He looks up from a call, sympathy immediately crossing his face. I hate sympathy as well. Hate it more than the whispers, the news articles, the interviews. Sympathy and eyes, my 2 worst enemies. I bite back a bitter, deranged laugh at that. I grit my teeth, putting on my best, the daughter of that dead guy voice. One I quickly realized got me farther than a bristly, angry snap. I'd like the rest of the day off. I lower my voice to a whisper for extra effect. Of course, Lily, he says quickly. We're all here if you need us. I don't put the effort into faking a smile. Just nod softly, mutter a thank you, and leave the office. In the lobby, I glance in a mirror. stare at my eyes. The same eyes that got carved out of my father's head. An ink-black iris drowning in the milk of the moon. I turn away before I break something. I walk out of the office and glance at the clock. I have 2 hours to get there, and 2.5 hours before dark. 2 hours, 23 minutes, and 49 seconds later. A figure clad in black slips next to me. I've been sitting on this bench for an hour. The water soaked through my jeans to my flesh. Shivers run through my body. "Glad to see you again, Lily," she says. There's something about her voice, always moments away from bursting into a cruel, mocking laugh. It feels like a knife dragged across teeth. I shudder, glad the shivering covers it. I grip the knife in my pocket, looking at the last children leaving the playground. The same one I sat at 10 years ago. Mint chips still sticky on my lips as this woman murdered my father. I've seen her 4 times since then. None of them had been by my own will. This time's different. I watch the children, trotting after their mother, giggling and tripping over each other with the promise of sweets and safety back in their home. "Not going to talk to me?" she asks, leaning back boredly. I ignore her, watching until the children slip into their car before I speak. "What do you want?" Iris smiles. Ah, there it is. That voice. Almost as nice as your eyes. I tense, clenching my teeth until they hurt. "What?" I hiss. "Do you want?" "Oh, come on, darling," she says with a laugh. "We both know these meetings have been about you since I killed your daddy. What was his name?" She searches the air. "Ah, Carl?" My hand slips on the blade in my pocket. It cuts my hand open as I lurch, throwing myself off the bench. My voice turned to a furious, animal-like snarl. "You keep his name out of your damned mouth." I snarl. My hand comes out of my pocket, dripping blood. She looks at it, then laughs. Standing up, she walks up to me, leaning in so I can feel her breath on my nose. I can smell it. I'd always imagined her breath smelling like rotting flesh, like death, like power. Instead, it smells like mint, almost like she's just eaten a piece of gum. "Ah, what are you going to do? Kill me?" She coos, taking my bleeding hand in hers. She inspects it in the quick fading light. Sad Lily. Pathetic, really, but I'm not one to toy with my meal. That includes name-calling. I snap. My unoccupied fist curls in on itself and slams into her head. She reels from the hit, staying on her feet and launching back to retaliate. I bring the knife out of my pocket and start swinging at her. I've gotten her in the head, the arm, the leg. Thump, thump, thump. Every single kick I land brings complete, utter euphoria. It's a high I've never experienced. She stumbles, hitting the ground. I drop to my knees and punch her in the jaw. Over and over. She still struggles as I take the duct tape I bought out of my bag and press the adhesive over her mouth, tying her hands behind her and wrapping her ankles to stop her kicking. Then I yank her hood down, looking into her eyes. They're not afraid, just angry. I stiffen. This was the moment I dreamed of. I wanted to see the fear in her eyes. They're perfectly, utterly plain. Not rare, not beautiful, just there. Muddy, plain eyes. Unbridled, burning rage makes it hard to focus. I feel dizzy. Dizzy is such a good way. All the pain gone, my only focus on how to hurt this monster. "How's it feel?" I whisper, a laugh escaping my throat as I lean down to speak in her ear. "Let me tell you, Iris, you are not getting away today. You are dying, whether I drown you in the milk of your damn moon. I take a moment to take out a lighter, watching its glint in the slow glint against the moonlight. Or I might burn you. I haven't decided how yet, but it will happen. She doesn't waver, her eyes never moving. The nerve she has does something to me, clouds my judgment. Then, peace. I know exactly what to do. I take the knife, and watching her face, I do the one thing I know will work. I press it into the flesh under her eyebrows, just like she did to my father 16 years ago. And I listen to her scream, "Bedtime" for Muriel. Cocoa, warm, not scalding, with pink marshmallows. And use a mug this time. I don't need to lose any more porcelain by knocking it off the table in the middle of the night. Use your brain, for fuck's sake. Yes, Muriel, said Angela, nodding as she tucked the hummingbird motif duvet around the octogenarian's neck. I'll be right back. You just get comfy and listen to Barry. Listen to Barry, the old woman with the silver hair scoffed, shuffling under the covers as if in criticism of the way she'd been positioned. Why do I have to listen to Barry? He's a wanker. Why do you always play him? Because you love Barry Manilow, Angela replied, making sure the personal alarm on Muriel McCandless's bedside table was in reach. And he's the only one who gets you to sleep. Don't tell me I'm wrong. We've experimented with Neil and Lionel, but you always end up awake all night. We're not doing that again. Barry fucking Manilow, said Muriel, flopping her arms against the mattress like a petulant child. Sounds like a cat being strangled. Absolute wanker. Angela couldn't suppress a giggle as she made her way across to the door, pausing to retrieve the tray laden with pill bottles and blister packs of various medications from the dresser beside it. And why is that horrible painting still on my wall? I told you, I don't like it. It gives me nightmares. For fuck's sake, put it in the bin. I did put it in the bin, Angela said, pausing by the threshold to straighten said picture with her free hand. 10 times. And you always tell me to put it back because it's your anchor, whatever that means. It's a fine painting anyway, one of your best. I have no idea what it is, but those slabs of overlapping color really do jump off the canvas. It's horrendous. I was stoned when I did it, like all the rest. And the idiot sheep lap them up. Pretentious twats with more money than sense, putting value on my neuroses. So true? Angela nodded, leaving the room. But at least they made you a fortune. Now, don't nod off before I come back with your cocoa. She said the same thing every night, winking at the lady of the house, whose head propped up on 2 Hungarian goose-down pillows was glaring daggers. I might have to drink it myself. Don't you dare touch my butler's chocolate, young lady, Muriel called as she pulled the door shut. It's Cadbury's we get for you, and you better fucking drink it. With the thick slab of mahogany secured in the doorframe, Muriel's shrill voice faded, and Angela's giggle turned to a chuckle as she made her way downstairs. Miserable Muriel, moaning Muriel, malicious Muriel. but also her Muriel, and despite her contrariness, she loved her. Nobody could put up with her for long. Not her husband, who she said passed away to escape her. Not her kids, who she said found careers in faraway countries to avoid having to visit. Which was good for Angela, who was used to dealing with foul-mouthed, cantankerous old biddies, having looked after her mother for years. It meant she got the gig of a lifetime as a live-in nurse and maid to a world-renowned, reclusive, abstract artist, free food and board, the run of a manor on private land in Wexford, surrounded by nature. What more could a 30-year-old carer of the elderly, sick of working endless shifts in soulless hospitals, and keen to fulfill her ambition of providing one-on-one personal caregiving, ask for, other than a cup of Butler's chocolate before bed? Reaching the bottom of the stairs and turning towards the kitchen, she fished her phone from her pocket to check the notification she'd felt buzz in some minutes before. WhatsApp from Freddie. "I'm here. Is the cranky old bitch asleep yet?" Shaking her head, Angela used her thumb to type. Not a bitch. Eccentric. And no, not yet. Making her chocolate. Out soon. Hope the pizza's ordered. Phone back in pocket. She made her way down a hall lined with photos, featuring everything but family, friends, and Muriel's art. Because she had no friends, hated her family, and her art terrified her. Shouldering her way through another thick door into the kitchen. The back door stood open, and it was freezing. The chill October temperatures having made themselves at home. "What the hell?" said Angela, placing the tray on the marble-topped kitchen island. "Freddie, I told you. You can't come into the main house. You'll get me fired." She couldn't see Freddie, but she knew she was there because the door had definitely been shut, and she was the only other person with access to the property. Something Muriel had reluctantly agreed to, on the proviso that her boyfriend only came over between 9 and 10 on weekends. Rules, of course, were made to be broken, and it was now 9:30 on Wednesday, with a night of pizza, beer, and Love Island catch-ups to look forward to. And were you raised in a barn? God, Freddie, close the door at least. As she hurried to shut out the cold, she caught a glimpse of movement by the fireplace and tensed herself, waiting for Frederica to wrap her arms around her and lift her off the floor, spin her around, and kiss her. She giggled in anticipation. "Just be quiet, okay? Her music's on, but I swear she has a sixth sense. She always seems to know when Verakel." The odd-sounding words were guttural, rasping, nails on chalkboard jarring. And Angela felt her blood run cold as the door clicked into place, and she smelt something rotten. Freddie? She knew it wasn't Freddie, but she turned anyway, to stare in horror at the bulbous, slug-skinned thing lurching towards her. a dozen yellow eyes in a mantis-like head, blood dribbling from fleshy mandibles as it swung one of many barb-covered tentacles at her head, slamming her hard to the floor. Muriel, because you like Barry Manilow. Sarcastic bitch. I do in my shite. Muriel had thrown off her duvet and swung her spindly legs off the mattress, slipped her bony feet into fluffy slippers, and wobbled to the dresser, where her phone was plugged in to charge, and from which the odious lyrics of Copacabana were oozing. Awful, Muriel spat, snatching up the phone to swipe at its screen with a withered finger. Fucking awful. How do I get George on this thing? Her efforts to navigate the Spotify home screen were interrupted when her eyes went to the canvas over the dresser, causing her to shiver and moan. Awful, she said again, dropping the phone as Barry sang. She lost her youth, and she lost her Tony. Now she's lost her mind. Told her to put it in the bin. Stupid bitch never listens. I've a mind to send her packing. Her and that long-haired boyfriend of hers. Dresses like a girl. Whatever happened to, she'd tugged the painting off the wall, shuffled to the door, pulled it open, and was about to fling the canvas out when she heard something stumble on the stairs, but only after being staggered by the smell of rotten fruit or vegetables, a smell that activated in her head a buried memory, like the image on the canvas which suddenly flared to life in her mind's eye. She was led by the hand from the tent in the forest to the light in the night by a shadow, looking back for help, seeing her father in his bag by the campfire, shouting, "Daddy, we're not alone." To no response, shivering in her nightdress, pine needles stabbing her bare feet, when she looked forward again, in response to the shadow telling her its name, she was entering the light and finding it filled with an indescribable array of frightening objects, machines and devices, glowing in bright colors. A chair, which she was placed into, to be pushed towards a hulking monster that reached dozens of wriggling tentacles towards her, making her scream. Arnold? She surprised herself by muttering as her knees gave out and she collapsed, landing with her head outside her door, turned towards the source of the smell, towards the glistening black thing that was lurching up the stairs on lumpy legs, like a bipedal squid out of water, black as tar, drooling blood, tentacles whipping in the air. "Arnold," she said again, though she didn't know why, just that the name had entered her head when she recognized the odor, an odor she'd smelled only once in her life and forgotten, an odor she remembered now as memories of that night in June 41 exploded in her mind like Luftwaffe bombs. The night she wandered off during a camping trip with her family and got lost in the woods for 3 days. Unknown colors, unidentifiable shapes, morphing, mutating, surging around her like waves, and amongst them, yellow eyes, drooling pincers, tentacles, in her mouth, wriggling deep, filling her throat. "Are you Arnold?" Muriel asked, pushing herself up to kneeling, watching the monster approach. "Did you take me away?" The terrifying beast of many tentacles reached the top of the stairs, brought its insectile head level with hers, narrowed its sulfur yellow eyes. Words that sounded like crotchet, verakel came from its blood-smeared mandibles, and Muriel straightened in defiance, remembering the sounds, remembering the smell, remembering it. "Did you take me?" she demanded, as a long-sought understanding of why she hurt the way she hurt, and dreamt the things she dreamt, and channeled the visions she was plagued with finally materialized. "You filthy, alien pervert!" The creature drew itself up to full height, spread its pincers wide, and issued an ear-splitting shriek that sprayed droplets of blood on Muriel's face. "You stole my life!" The fiery 87-year-old spat, struggling to her feet as the monster hissed. "You filled me with hate and anger. Tusak verakel," it said, stepping closer, swinging its tentacles back to Muriel. It was Angela, appearing on the monster's back, wrapping her arms around its neck, her face a mask of horror, bloody and torn, flap of skin dangling from one cheek, lips burst, eyes swollen, glaring. "One," she forced past mangled tongue. "Call Orice." The alien monster thing shrieked and thrashed and slammed itself into the wall, reaching up and back, coiling tentacles around Angela's head. Muriel, snapped from the fugue-like state she'd drifted into by Angela's appearance, felt delayed panic race through her and turned, tottered back into her room, swung the door shut, and reached for her phone, still connected to its charging cable on the dresser. "I've been alive forever," Barry crooned, "and I wrote the very first song." For the second time in as many minutes, the old lady's trembling hands gathered up the phone, then dropped it again as the door burst open. An airborne, headless Angela flying through, slamming into Muriel, and knocking them both to the floor. "Stupid bitch," she thought, propping herself up on her elbows, feeling a heavy weight on her legs, knowing without looking it was Angela. Fat lot of good, she was. Should have got rid of her ages ago. Probably let that bastard get in while she was canoodling with... Wait, Arnold? Was that really Arnold? I remember him taking my hand while I peed. Before she could finish the thought, the window over her bed exploded, and millions of shards of razor-sharp glass filled the room, lacerating her arms, legs, and face. Arnold. When the alert came through, he was 18 parsecs away on Vestron 7, helping to quell an uprising organized by the anarchic Micropian Party in advance of upcoming elections. And he cursed himself for falling for the ploy. Although he'd been transferred to the president's personal security division, the rebel leader, Plikvar, knew he wouldn't be able to resist returning to his homeworld to help the ground troops subdue the dissidents. He had knowledge of the land that would prove invaluable to their efforts, so it wasn't a stretch to predict what he would do when he heard of the unrest. Anti-libertarian, Micropian scum tarnishing his beautiful Vestropolis? Unthinkable. Arnold Edibold couldn't stand by while such a violation occurred, and he hadn't. But by abandoning his post to rejoin his regiment, he'd left his asset unguarded and given Plikvar an opportunity to damage Turanian unity. He would be banished to the frozen wastes for such an indiscretion. So as soon as he received news of the security breach from the capital, he knew what machinations were afoot and commandeered a starhopper to take him from Vestron to Earth. A trip through the inner cosmos that normally took several hours, but he accomplished in one as he raced to avert disaster, a feat he was sure he had failed when he teleported down to the grounds of the manor and discovered the remains of a human female scattered across the lawn. "I'm too late," was his first thought. "We will lose the elections. The anarchists will seize power. The Turanian nation will fall, and I will live out my days on an ice-cold rock near Cetron, where his second, third, fourth, and fifth." Then he heard sounds of commotion from a room on the second floor and realized he still had a chance. He raced to the wall, used his tentacles to climb it, eyes narrowing into slits as he prepared for battle, reaching the window and smashing through into the sleeping quarters of the one he'd sworn to protect. Muriel McCandless, now much older than she'd been when he left his post 2 days before. 14 years older, to be precise. She was on the floor, under a corpse, covering her head with twig-like arms as glass rained down around her. Arnold landed on a pink platform under the window as the assassin pounced into the room, placed a foot on the small of Muriel's back, snaked its tentacles down towards her head. It glared at him while it coiled its limbs around her neck. "Cratchet, Verakel," it snarled, and Arnold looked on in defeat, knowing he couldn't do anything before the rebel ripped the head off the human. They'd hacked the capital's data files. They'd found who they were looking for. They'd determined her location and knew they had time to take her out. They'd put a plan in motion, and it had worked. They were seconds away from causing an election upset. Unless the president would not be happy. But there was only one thing he could do. "Daddy, we're not alone," he said, in perfect English, mimicking the voice of the 5-year-old girl in the woods. The only thing she'd said beyond screaming when he took her from her family 2 weeks before. The words they'd recorded and used, buried in her subconscious as a trigger to put her mind in a coma when needed. Beneath the rebel's foot, Muriel's body contorted, spine snapping, head twisting, neck breaking, eyes staring up at Arnold. Fuck you, Arnold, she said. You evil bass. Her final word trailed off as her head exploded, and from the hole in her neck came Vera Kell, howling as she grew from shrunken embryo to full-size adult in a matter of moments. The rebel fell back, tentacles around the emerging president, becoming entangled with hers as they grew from her torso. It was trapped, and it hissed, and it roared, watching Vera Kell's head fully form, her eyes blink open and stare. It took her a second to get her bearings, but once she had, she didn't wait, opening a second vertical mouth in her throat and spraying a jet of corrosive acid from her guts, an act only females of the Turanian race could perform, an act Arnold could not watch. He stared at his feet while the anarchist screamed at the unstable pink slab he was standing on, and the earthbird illustrated puffy material balled up at its end. Pretty, he thought. Looks soft. Inviting. Why don't we have such niceties on Arnold, the president said, snapping him to attention and bringing his gaze back up, avoiding the steaming mass of goo by the door. Yes, ma'am. What transpired today? Why the intrusion? Anarchists, ma'am. Pleekvar hacked the capital's databanks, found out you were vacationing on Earth in a human host with me watching over. Saw it as a chance to take you out of the running for re-election. Initiated an uprising on Vestron 7 to lure me away. Sadly, I fell for it. Thought they could use a local to help. Then he sent someone to eliminate you. I see. But you found out? Capital agents got wind of it and alerted me. I returned at once, but too late to do anything other than wake you. I apologize, ma'am. Vera Kell grunted, looking around the room. Fuck, she said, in her characteristic, crude way. Ma'am, couldn't even get 2 shitting weeks to myself before starting on the campaign trail. This was a good life, too. Fun, but interrupted right before the end. What bullshit. Human passings are the best fucking bits. Sorry, ma'am. Don't apologize. I'm alive, aren't I? Thanks to you. Did you say that asshole Pleekvar orchestrated a rebellion on your homeworld? Yes, ma'am. Is it quelled? No, ma'am. I had to leave before. Then what are we fucking waiting for? You have a hopper, I presume? Let's get back to it. I'm in the mood for melting more anarchists. And then I'm going to kick the living shit out of Pleekvar. And so, exiting a crime scene the likes of which had never before been witnessed, Vera Kell and R. Nold left Manilow behind, singing, "We'll just go on burning bright somewhere in the night. Teddy bear. It's all your fault, you know." Picture it now. I was standing at that sparkling marble countertop, sorting through the mail, when I saw it. A thin envelope addressed to Joanne Roberts. It sat on my counter for hours while I cleaned up the kitchen, completed an online yoga workout, and took a hot shower. Young's Storage Company, in red letters as the header to the return address, gave me plenty of info to begin searching online. Final notice stamped in red across the front let me know what it was about. Still, I wanted to know the specifics. I must confess, noticed my first night in the house, there weren't any photos of you. Not even a wedding picture. All of the decor was masculine with sharp corners. No color. Somewhere, deep down, I knew he had erased you, but above that knowledge, I had known I was prepared to replace you. I put on my best little red sundress and made myself lunch. A turkey sandwich, side salad, Diet Coke. Did I purposefully knock over my drink? Onto the letter? No. All right, you caught me. I did. Why would my husband have a letter from a storage company addressed to you? It was easy to open the letter, but the only thing inside was a boring notice about you being behind on payments. How can a ghost be behind on payments? I asked him all those questions over dinner. He wrapped me up in kisses, saying, "I'll sort it all out tomorrow, my dear." I didn't want you to be surrounded by her memory. It seemed cruel, but I couldn't part myself entirely from her. She always had a storage unit to house her stuff, so I just kept it going. His beautiful eyes stared at the leftover gravy on his plate, creating a masterpiece with the mashed potatoes. Then he changed the topic and complimented my dress. Did I mention that Jonathan picked all my dresses for me? I remember that day so vividly, so fondly. We had been walking around the mall on our third date after gorging ourselves on soft pretzels and soda pop, when he pulled me into this shop with a pretty little poppy on the sign. We walked past the mini skirts in neon colors, past the intricately woven crop tops, and into the section at the back of the store where dresses hung on racks with signs reading "Discount." All of the tags had little red stickers on them, marking their new price with the old price in block black print clearly beneath it, so you truly understood the bargain you were getting. Jonathan fingered through them, looked me up and down, and returned to the rack. I did the same, trying to laugh through the pain of explaining my dress size to a new guy. But Jonathan was an old hat at all of this. He was a widower, after all. Mom lost her mind when I told her I met a guy. You know how mothers can be. They just worry. I played it smart, though. I introduced Jonathan into the conversation, all casual, like he was a description of sunny weather. I met a guy, Mom, I said, and her whole body shifted in the salon chair. It was such an abrupt change. Her pedicurist rushed to grab towels and mop up the oily, warm water she had sloshed everywhere. She demanded details. I told her everything I could. That Jonathan was a kind man. That he was incredibly musically talented. That he led the whole church every Sunday at the college mass in song. And, oh yeah, he's a widower. That detail shut her up for a bit. Mom begged me every week to come to church with her and Dad. I always had an excuse why I couldn't manage to go. Of course, the knowledge of Jonathan's existence somehow excused all the excuses. It made it all make sense. It was that final piece of the puzzle. But I could see in her eyes that the word widower frightened her. I watched it wash over her like a wave. It crashed into her heart. It scared her with all of its unspoken realities. An age gap that requires both hands to count. Kids, baggage, survivor's guilt. Would I spend my whole life measuring up to another woman? I assured her that day that I could handle being courted by a widower. Jonathan, in his most charming state, was a master at courtship. After all, he had succeeded in the task at least once. He bought flowers, insisted on meeting Mom and Dad with wine in hand, and when he knelt down on one knee, the whole world held its breath, waiting for my answer. Of course, it was yes. It had to be yes. Be honest. Did you see the signs? We attended the mandatory meetings with our local priest, who already adored Jonathan, perhaps more than me. He even used our story in a Sunday homily about the importance of the vocation of marriage in the church. He said, I was once approached by a parishioner, our beloved Jonathan, who said he was called to serve God with his voice, and I simply couldn't say no. Just remember, if God calls you to serve, there's nearly no way for me to deny the request. And we all looked to the rafters. I swear Jonathan winked at me. His mother taught him piano. His father taught him to pick a career worth having, which is how he had the gumption to endure college, law school, and life as a first-year associate. All of these milestones belong to the first Mrs. Roberts. Jonathan didn't bring her into the conversation until halfway through our first date. Listen, he said, as he leaned across the metal table of the cafe. I've done this before. I am serious about it. I want to get married again. I am called to marriage. I know you're young. I never want you feeling rushed into it. It's a serious commitment. I swear he stole those words right from my father's lips. Yet I smiled. I nodded. I promised I could hold it together, and if I squinted, I could block out the stands of gray in his jet black hair. He laughed when I told him that joke. Wouldn't you? Dad takes Jonathan out golfing every weekend, while Mom and I get our nails done. It started out as a habit when we were busy planning the wedding, but it turned into something more for them. They'd come back flushed and happy, giggling, like schoolgirls with secrets. They'd sweep Mom and I up in their arms, and we'd all go out to eat at a fancy restaurant. And Jonathan would pull out his black credit card with that devil-may-care grin before driving me back to the 4-bedroom house I shared with the girls from Bible study. He'd give me a peck on the cheek. I'd press my back up against the cold door and cross out another day on my calendar until graduation. My cap and gown came in a navy blue and gold. My diploma, 4 years of blood, sweat, and tears, rolled up into a single sheet of fancy parchment, eventually ended up in the back of the closet. But on that day, I knew that the diploma wasn't what I was walking out those auditorium doors with. No, I was walking out with my fiancé, whom my family adored, as my friends crowded me shouting, "5 months until you get your MRS degree. You would have adored our wedding day." It was so perfectly perfect in every way. Jonathan had told me that his first wedding was in mid-June, so we decided to have a winter wedding. October 20th. We chose a Friday so that we could advertise the event as an excuse for a long weekend. He was practiced at catering tasting and planning weather-based backup plans. It was easy to forget why he knew how to do it all. Jonathan's parents, longtime managers in the hospitality industry, ensured we had the very best rates for our guests and a beautiful hall for the reception. It all went to plan. The gorgeous, full Mass with readings Jonathan chose so as not to repeat any from his first wedding. The quick trip to the local hotel where we danced the night away, and the shuttle ride the next morning out to the airport for our honeymoon. I had wanted somewhere warm, but the first Mrs. Roberts insisted on Hawaii, so I settled for a weekend in a Colorado mountain town. We rented a 2-bedroom condo with a huge jetted tub. We spent most of the weekend there, but Jonathan had insisted we step out to do some shopping, to eat a good meal, and drink a good glass of wine. See, that's the thing about Jonathan. When he's got his eyes locked on yours, that enticing bite of elk steak balanced on the edge of his fork, you'd do anything for him. I know I did. Do you know how long it took for Sandy to tell me all about her? The first Mrs. Roberts? My brand spanking new mother-in-law took me out to lunch a month after the wedding. We ordered an appetizer and sparkling drinks, and she launched into the story of the ghost who haunted my new husband's heart. I didn't even know your name until that day. It was Joanne. I was told Joanne was very pretty. She was a blonde with a slim waist and easy laugh. She wasn't close to her parents, so she clung to her new in-laws, coming to Sandy for advice every weekend over a glass of wine, to Leonard for help with her car troubles, which seemed to pop up nearly twice a month. That Joanne, she was apparently spectacular. She was the girl next door, literally. Sandy set up play dates on the regular between her son and Joanne when they were in elementary too. Rescue Joanne from her tragic home life. Have I mentioned that the first time I visited Jonathan's parents, they still had the old prom photo of the king and queen proudly displayed on the fireplace mantel? In fact, Sandy walked me over to it before dessert was even served. Don't worry, it was Joanne's favorite, pineapple upside cake. Jonathan told a different story of the first Mrs. Roberts. Did you know he only ever calls you the first? According to him, she was complicated and exhausting and a challenge. He always frowned when he spoke of her and held his chin in his hands, cleared his throat, or took another sip of red wine. So I dropped it. Joanne was always the hot poker of our marriage. The demand came a week after that letter. Jonathan locked eyes with me over coffee, scrambled eggs, and toast. He forbid me from going into the garage, saying, "I can't afford the payments on the storage unit. I've moved a box of her stuff into the garage. I don't want you getting hurt." I nodded and avoided that place like the plague, except last Sunday, when I stood in front of the garage door for 20 minutes before using the spare key we kept hung on the hook, shaped like a moose's antlers, to unlock it. Jonathan's car was gone since he went to the office for the day. His latest trial was scheduled for the next day, so some final details simply needed arranging. He had made me breakfast. There was even a little note bearing his love. I had been perfectly happy eating my meal. It wasn't until I turned on the shower that I even considered the garage. See, I was comfy and cozy in a steamy shower when all the lights went out. I screamed from panic and called out Jonathan's name several times before I vaguely remembered that our breaker panel was in the garage. So I rinsed quickly, dried more quickly, and threw on some leggings before heading outside. Yes, I considered calling Jonathan. Of course I did. I even considered calling my father, or father-in-law, or mother, or mother-in-law, or knocking on the doors of some friendly neighbors. But I figured I was not just a 25-year-old, but a married woman, a wife. If I was ever to become the mother Jonathan needed me to be for our children, I had better be able to switch a breaker. The garage was musty, dusty, gross. Some faint lines from dust remained on our cement floor, where Jonathan always parked his car. The huge freezer he received as a wedding present from my father didn't even whir. I grimaced and examined my scene. There was my bike, the one with the big blue basket that Jonathan had surprised me with for my first birthday with him. There were all of his hunting outfits. He hated when I called them outfits, but what else would I call them? There was his splitting axe, his felling axe, and his hand axe hung up on the wall. There was a tent we bought for our first anniversary. It made me smile, and in the corner were 3 black totes with yellow lids piled high on against a wall. But I could still make out the silver of the breaker panel, so I marched over and gently shoved them to the side. I could clearly see 2 switches weren't like the others, so I clicked them over. The freezer began to whir to life. I was left with a satisfied grin. You would have been proud. I hope we would have been friends in another life. The big sister, little sister dynamic I always prayed for. When I went to slide the totes back, the top one fell. I was left to clean up old photo albums of Jonathan's childhood. I had seen all of them before, but still paused to stroke the giggling face of Jonathan on his 10th birthday. Around him, balloons decorated the backyard. A huge cake in the shape of a cowboy hat had lit candles. And of course, the present table was overflowing. His little lips puckered as he blew out the candles. I could practically hear the squeals of excited children. I went to pile the tote back up, but decided to slide the 2 remaining totes back into place first, so as not to have the 3rd one fall again. As they were tucked back into place, I noticed the middle one wasn't quite sealed shut, so I went to close it, and found I couldn't. I heard the sound of Jonathan's voice chastising me. If you're gonna do anything, do it right, or don't do it at all. So I took the yellow lid off. Before me were all of Joanne's dresses. I recognized their bright colors from Sandy's photos. I found my hands sifting through them without the full consent of my mind. They felt smooth like water between my fingers, and I held them up to my chest, twirling in a dusty garage all alone. At the bottom of the tote was one final dress and a teddy bear. The dress was white with a blue flower pattern. I grabbed it and grimaced with a pounding heart, noticing the stains of blood in the center of the bust line, the tear where the weapon made its entrance and exit. Any woman who has endured her monthly visitor knows the color of dried blood. There was no excuse that he could come up with. It wasn't paint or food. It was blood. The bear bore the same markings, and I fell to the garage floor. Jonathan found me hours later. He picked me up, tutting as he went. He placed all of her dresses back in the box, but kept the teddy bear out. He sealed up the tote and helped me into the car. We drove in silence, the only light being from the full moon. Even if I had words, I don't know if my throat could make them. It had gone silent after the screaming and the crying. My exhausted eyes fluttered closed and didn't open until I could tell we had stopped, until I was certain we wouldn't start again, until I felt Jonathan's cool fingers stroking my hot cheek. He wore a sad face, like a clown without makeup. They start out so good, so kind, so loving. They promise to be good. But then they stop. They open letters not addressed to them. Ask questions they shouldn't ask. He threw the new dress at me and returned minutes later to take me by one hand. He gave me the teddy for the other one. Our footsteps sounded so loud in the dried-out grass and the silence of the graveyard. Until we arrived. I am the second Mrs. Roberts. I am standing at your grave in my very best black heels and little black dress. My sweaty hands clutch the brown teddy bear I found in an old dusty tote tucked in the corner of our old dusty garage. Jonathan smiles at me for the first time. He pulls out his gun. He leans in close. I close my eyes and taste his kiss one last time. The doctor. Don't touch me. Keep your distance. I've heard that every day now for 9 months. Doesn't make things easy when you're the town's GP. First, it was the fires. Then it was the virus. Everything has turned to shit in Maui after the president was re-elected. Okay, he probably has nothing to do with it. But we need to blame someone, don't we? I put on my PP bunny suit and wait at the Kihei Pier for the boat to arrive. Second boat this month, the sergeant says. Locked and loaded, I say, showing him my assault rifle and giving him a hint of a salute, even though military ranks no longer exist. Good stance, Doc. Besides being able to hold a rifle, I'm here to do spotting. Being the town's GP, people think I'm the best person at detecting who has been infected. What I don't tell those people is that the virus is invisible, and we don't have any medical supplies or way to detect it. And since we've run out of insulin last month, I've lost much of the feeling in my fingers. And my toes? We've lost our connection weeks ago. One day at a time. I need to carry on. I have a duty to my patients. The boat nears the dock. The men on board are pointing guns back at us. It makes sense. They are as suspicious of us as we are of them. They don't know whether the virus has taken hold here. They look nervous. That's a good sign. I hold my numb finger well away from the trigger of my AR-15. When the takeover began, It was easy to spot them. The freelancers. The first thing they lost was self-care. All they did was work. There spent no time looking in the mirror. All they wanted to do was to book billable hours. We normal people used to work 8 hours a day. They could work 20. But lately, the gig guru's AI has injected more of a human touch into the virus, leaving just enough human instinct for them to fly under the radar. Unless one is very, very discerning. A man on the front of the incoming boat shouts, "Honolulu Medical Supply Run, Captain Johnson from Tripler AMC." The sergeant gives a proper military salute to the boat. "Sergeant Jaworski, are we good to dock, Sergeant?" "All good here, Captain." The sergeant nods and signals the others to tie up the incoming boat. A moment later, Captain Johnson jumps off. I study his face closely. Well-defined cheekbones. We've all on a starvation diet these days. He notices my stare. "Hey, chill out. We're friendlies." I keep my distance. Gig Guru's virus is so large, it doesn't spread easily. It can't travel through the air without its high molecular weight, making it drop to the ground. How it infects people, no one is exactly sure. Every story that changes history begins with a spark. An event so small and insignificant, no one noticed it at the time. Hitler giving his first speech on a corner in Vienna. The CIA attaching a missile to a drone in Afghanistan in 2002. The AI apocalypse started with something even smaller. In 2020, Gig Guru, a freelance company, sent health supplements to its workforce. They saw the programmers who received free yerba mate pills booked 12% more hours. The creatives who received green tea extract had higher customer satisfaction scores. It worked so well, Gig Guru hired data scientists to expand their biohealth program. The scientists expanded the system to program to giving freelancers suggestions on how to receive ADHD prescriptions. The next year, they requested their DNA samples. "We've been vaccinated," Captain Johnson says. "The military lab in Honolulu has come up with new tech. We're here to bring it to you." The captain holds out his hand for a handshake. I instinctively back off. "Why didn't you let us know about this over the radio?" the sergeant asks. "Operational secrecy." The sergeant nods. Apparently, this makes sense to him. The captain and his men haul crates of medical equipment off the boat. They take over our abandoned ice cream parlor at the end of the pier. Someone yanks the starting cord on the generator they brought. The lights turn on. They begin plugging in all the medical equipment. The rumble of the generator and the displays lighting up signals, modern civilization. Something we are all longing for. I feel it's my duty to safeguard the best interest of my patients. What if Gig Gugu alters the virus? I ask the captain. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I look to the sergeant for his opinion. The sergeant looks uneasy, but he defers to the captain. The scale of the military presence in Honolulu is hundreds of times greater than ours. And what do we have to lose? "I'll go first," the sergeant says. He leads from the front. I stand back, and him receive a series of medical checks. They take a vial out of a freezer box and give him an injection in the shoulder. "Don't feel a thing," he says with a big grin. The one he gives us when we are all worried about something. Everyone in our community receives their injection before me. I watch them closely for side effects. I can give aid if needed. Finally, it's my turn, and I sit down. Captain Johnson takes my blood pressure and oxygen levels with the jury-rigged equipment. I don't recognize some of the machines that they've put together. Your blood pressure is running a bit high, but everything else is normal. How have you been feeling lately? A little off, but hanging in there. I feel my ribs poking out from my Aloha shirt. Any symptoms? He asks. I stare at my toes, the ones I can't feel. It wouldn't help to complain about diabetes right now, so I say nothing. I'll ask later if they have any insulin on Honolulu. All good, I say. This man is a great patient. The captain looks at all his equipment and winks at his crew in the room. I stand up from my chair, and he gives me a hug. I want to shed a tear, as I haven't been hugged by anyone for years. I think of my daughter and how much I miss her. She's in California. It's probably too late, but I think there's still hope. Thank you for your service, Doctor, the captain says. He hugs me even tighter, his arms almost crushing me. Someone comes up close behind me. I feel a sting in my buttocks. He's the only one infected, I hear him say, before everything goes dark. The green-eyed monster. Beware, for my appetite is hard to satisfy. Once I have sunk my teeth into you, savored your particular taste, it is very hard for me to let go. Think of when you suck juices from the bone, relishing every last drop of roasted meat, or the times when you lick the plate greedily, trusting that no one is watching, sauce dripping from your chin. That is like me, feasting on a most delectable dish. You do not need to be marinated, tenderized, or steeped in spices. I enjoy you quite as you are, yet it is remarkable, your ability to flavor yourself to my liking. Sometimes sweet, sometimes salty, always spicy hot. Oh yes, the dish you serve might seem slow, cooked, but passion is always the flame that roasts you in the end. Basted in your own juices, I just turn the spit, watching the flames lick higher. Curse me if you will, mock me if you must, but I only gnaw on your bones because you tempt me. And like a dog with a bone, you know I must leap and grab, shaking you in my jaws. Yes, you can say my appetite disgusts you, this frenzied feeding. But I am only such a glutton because you heap my plate ever higher. If I feast, it is only because you throw such rich pickings my way. I grow, fatten myself on your largesse. the bounty of you, scabs on your knees and scars upon your heart. I lurk in the shadows of your nursery, sniffing out the moment that is ripe for me to bare my teeth and bite. Your baby sister, silhouetted against the nursery window, wreathed in light. Your mother dozes in the rocking chair. The words of a lullaby stream from her mouth, even in sleep. She rocks and croons and kisses the little head. You wonder at this new picture, this piece, so smooth compared to the rough and tumble of time with you. At the door, you watch, suddenly an intruder in your own home. Knowing the interloper can't enter, mustn't break this peace as then noise. Baby's cries will cut like glass, scenting the air. I smell the musk of your mother's slumber. The baby's sweet new smell, clean of the reek of age and pain, and what you feel when I sink my fangs into you for the first time. You flinch. Of course you do, and try to shake me off. But I clamp down all the harder. Look, I say, shaking you like the rag doll that used to bring you comfort. Look at how she holds her up to your father. Look at how he is enfolding them both in his arms. Where are you in this golden circle? A dark shadow, cast out and forgotten. I bite until I feel your resolve snap, a broken wishbone. And then I know you're a dish I can feast upon my whole life long. I eat my fill and lay you down, chewed, stripped clean, only able to lie there, staring up into my clear green eyes. But sometimes sweet treats can sicken. That first taste, like a candy kiss, can cloy, and soon it is salty foods I crave. I wait my time, hunger growing, growling in the pit of my stomach, louder as the years pass. When I can wait no longer, I prowl to the pitch where you practice every week. Coach is handing out the accolades: best pass, best team player, and the one you covet, man of the match. He walks down the line and stops by your best friend, shaking him by the hand, slapping him on the back. Stealthily, I latch onto your ankle and sink my teeth into your soft, pliable, and welcoming flesh. And with a small whimper, you let me feed. Others go to the locker, get washed and changed. And you stand there, alone. I gourd and guzzle while you watch him and the girl you long to talk to, a dancing moth around his flame. Yes, sometimes the salt you baste yourself in, week after week, game after game, night after night, streaming down your face and soaking your pillow, tastes sweeter than all the candy you can buy. But what is my particular favorite, you ask? Well, as you're a fellow epicure, and you won't let it rest, I'll confess. Steep yourself in spices, give it all a good cayenne kick, set my mouth on peppery fire, for I like a blast of heat the best. Passion. Yes, that is the marinade you should steep yourself in. Ladle after ladle of thick, oozing passion. And you, poor, tender fool, that is just what you do. Watching them kiss after he brings the cup home for the team. Picturing them hand in hand, kicking up the leaves as the autumn wind lifts their hair and hearts. And as Christmas sweeps in, her snowy mantle wrapped tightly about her, you are roasting in the furnaces of hell. Lying down in the heat you radiate, I feed and feed, growing fatter than the goose and all its trimmings, glistening with fat. I bask in the gluttony you permit me, my green eyes forever trained on you. Indulged, I wax corpulent, rolling with my folds, a Falstaff with fangs. Still you toss me titbits, curled in your bed, picturing your lover, encircled by another's arms. He is faceless, nameless, a fear-made flesh which you feed me from your hand. We are never satiated, even when we walk down the aisle, turn and watch. With predatory eyes, the vision of your lovely bride, regarding you now, more morsel than meat, like a thin scrape of butter on a meager scrap of bread. I feel almost compelled to apologize on the behalf of others. Such a shame the family never comes to fatten you up, or that sporty friend doesn't pop around for a beer. And your wife? Well, perhaps the less said there, the better. At least, you can rely on me, patting my head. I'm your trusty companion, no longer a loathed monster, rather a loyal pet, forever walking at your side. Gardenia. The family left Gardenia around 5 in the morning. They quietly packed their things and left, stopping only to clean the fridge, because they felt strongly that a dirty fridge would speak poorly of them and their abrupt departure. When they left, the fridge was clean, and there was still blood all over the walls. The blood did not belong to anyone in the family. It had started pouring down from the ceiling, and the family decided that was the final straw. It was one thing when specters appeared at the top of the stairs with 2 heads and horns. It was another when knives were flying across the kitchen, narrowly missing the head of the family's youngest, who was only 2. It was startling when the family dog suddenly grew to 5 times its size and ate the family's sedan. All of that was unfortunate. But the family had gotten Gardenia for a steal. They were apprised that it had a colorful past. They were a bit put off by it, but then they saw the guest bathrooms, and the very thought of having guests, let alone guest bathrooms, was simply too good to pass up. It took blood coming down the walls 3 weeks later for them to vacate. Once they were gone, the bloody devil manifested out of the television and made itself a sandwich. It was proud of the family. When they had first moved in, it hadn't expected them to last more than a few days. It figured the first time the lights flickered and the cicadas swarmed the toilet, they'd be out the door. That was the thing about some families. You never quite knew how much they were willing to put up with for a house with a fireplace and good insulation. The bloody devil ran its clawed paw along the wall and licked up a smidge of blood. This batch was too spicy, it said to itself. I should have used less red pepper. That night, as the bloody devil was falling asleep in the guest bathroom tub, it heard a sound. When it opened its fifth eye, it saw what looked like a little girl standing in the doorway of the bathroom. For a second, the bloody devil thought the little girl was one of the daughters from the family that had fled that morning. But when it blinked, the girl was gone. Just to be safe, the bloody devil turned off all the lights in the house so it could scan the darkness for any signs of living energy. When nothing turned up, it chalked the whole experience up to a bad dream. It returned to its bath, but when it did, it found that the shower had been turned on and steam had filled the room. There, on the mirror, was a message written in what appeared to be a human hand. We're back. From that day forward, the bloody devil, who had haunted Gardenia since the day it was built on top of a collapsed pagan temple, never knew a moment's peace. Children's toys would materialize in the living room. Toys with sharp edges and wheels that the bloody devil would step on, yowling as it fell backwards into the fireplace. Dirty dishes were somehow always in the sink, despite the bloody devil only eating off Ouija boards. At night, as it tried to sleep, it could hear the sound of a man and a woman in the next room. I'm telling you, we don't have the money to stay an extra night. We'd have the money if you took that job my father offered you. We've been over this, Natalie. I am not taking a handout from your father, so I guess you have to tell the kids why we're leaving Orlando early then. The conversation didn't scare the bloody devil as much as it made it very, very anxious. Were Natalie and the man going to stay together? They sounded so unhappy. Were they going to break up? Why was he hearing this when they weren't even here? That wasn't the only time it heard voices. You are not going out dressed like that, young lady. Jesse's mother lets her go out like this. That's why Jesse's going to end up in a documentary someday. What does that even mean? The bloody devil would hide behind the couch whenever these arguments were going on. It couldn't locate the source of the voices, no matter how hard it tried. But it also couldn't bear to just sit on his throne made of vole skulls and pretend it didn't hear the conflicts. They were always so domestic. It preferred higher stakes, life and death, passion and terror. Hearing a mother and daughter go at it because the daughter put on too much eyeliner made the bloody devil want to rip off one of its two heads. the one with the ears. After a century of living in and haunting Gardenia, it was the taco night that made the bloody devil abandon the house. It wasn't expecting any trouble, what with it being a Tuesday, and what with taco night always being something the family seemed to look forward to, based on what the bloody devil could surmise going off only voices and the satisfied sounds of chewing, while a mysterious odor of sour cream and pico filled the air. It made the bloody devil hungry, but it couldn't eat anything because there didn't appear to be any food there. It was torturous being exposed to such lovely aromas without being able to feast. It tried to placate itself by gnawing on the leg bone of a unicorn, but it just wasn't the same. The taco night started out fine, as best the bloody devil could tell. Plates were laid out, soft shells were placed next to hard shells, and the dad made a corny joke about tortillas, as he always did. Groans followed. Then some clanking of silverware and the sound of mastication. The bloody devil bit down on what little bit of meat was left on its unicorn leg, but it fantasized about what the ground beef must taste like when covered with shredded cheese and lettuce. That was when one of the daughters announced that she wouldn't be attending her own high school graduation. The bloody devil had no idea why the teenager chose this instance to make such an announcement, when everybody seemed to be having such a nice time. But as far as the bloody devil could tell, this was just something teenagers did. They found themselves in a pleasant moment and felt a compelling urge to ruin it. Right away, there was a fracas. The mother informed her daughter that she absolutely would be going to graduation because she and her husband did not work and save to send their daughter to a fancy private school, only so that she could skip the grand finale. The daughter then pointed out that the mother doesn't work, so really, it's just the father who should decide if the daughter has to go to graduation. There was a pause. While the bloody devil imagined, the mother waited on the father to back her up. But then the father just said, "I didn't go to my graduation either." And then the mother exploded on the father, which led to the teenage daughter shouting in defense of her father, while the youngest child cried, and one or two middle children began to loudly sing some song about gravy and a turkey's neck for no discernible reason, other than maybe trying to diffuse the tension or quell their own anxiety. At one point, it sounded as though someone, probably the mother, went around picking up the various plates full of soft shells and hard shells and pico, and began smashing them on the floor. This led to more noise, and somebody ran out the front door, slamming it behind them. The sound of the door slamming was like a shot going off inside the bloody devil. It had to leave. It had no choice. It couldn't live like this. Maybe it should have stuck around for the children. After all, the bloody devil might have been made from the nightmares of demons and the spirit of Lucifer, but it was at least civilized enough to know that children need a stabilizing force in their lives, and maybe the bloody devil could provide them for them. But how? No, it was no use. Sticking around wasn't a good idea for anyone. The bloody devil left Gardenia around 5 in the morning the very next day. Shortly after it departed, the family returned back to the home. They had taken a Ouija board from the fridge before they left. The bloody devil was always leaving its dirty Ouija boards in the fridge. They soon discovered that the board was a kind of portal into the house, and when they saw the bloody devil growing comfortable in their home, it made them angry. Not angry enough to do anything about it, of course. A bloody devil was still a bloody devil. They had no intention of going back. But soon, living in the rental home they occupied after leaving Gardenia started to feel suffocating. They began to argue. The eldest daughter began to act out. The middle children took to writing scary messages in steam in the small bathroom they all shared just to scare their youngest sibling. Toys were left everywhere. It all built up to a taco night that was, without question, one of the worst nights in the family's history. It wasn't until the next morning when one of the middle children brought the Ouija board to her mother as she was tossing another dirty dish in the sink. She pointed out that the bloody devil appeared to have left Gardenia. Natalie, the mother, moved the board all around so she could see each part of the house, and sure enough, there was no sign of the bloody devil anymore. "Well," she said, "I suppose that means we can go back. As for the bloody devil, he never went back to Gardenia, but that's probably for the best. It doesn't mean he loves the family any less, but that's mostly because he never loved them in the first place." Vanish. I tried to be gentle. I tried to come to you slowly, revealing myself in fragments under the growing dimness of dusk. I stepped ever so carefully into the downward cast of the yellow street lamp's sepia light, sending forth first a finger, then a tentative but eager to caress hand. I moved so gently, so slowly, that I felt the cloak of darkness removed from my face, inch by inch, nose first, before there was no more hiding. I did this for you, as not to startle you. Didn't you see? I even smiled. Those sparks of kindness you all boast so easily, like the one you'd given me. And yet, you still screamed, shrieked even. A shrill shriek of survival, one of horror and fear, as if the very sight of me would be your upending. And how you ran, just took off, as if the wind came and swept you away, leaving no blame for yourself. I offered you my most sincere attempt at kindness, an approach akin to that of a person who wishes to greet a cute puppy. And how was it that you repaid me? Screaming and running away. Could you see how that would have made me angry? Do you understand why I had to do what I've done? All I'd ever wanted was to be with you, to be more like you. I just wanted to learn from you. If not for your outburst, things could have been different. I thought maybe you were different. I'd wanted you to be different. I'd hoped that you would be the one to accept me, welcome me, and show me what it was like to be like you. A glowing firefly in the night, leading me out of my solemn and lonely abyss. I thought you would be unlike the others, who'd taken one look at me and condemned me to hell with a snarl, thrusting a spear of fear between us like a barrier. Me and them, water and oil. Two things that could never mix. I'd hoped you'd be different. I hoped it with all the blood pumping in my chest. I thought you would see how much I'd longed for us to mix, and how much I dreamt of the opening of your arms wide, like I'd watched you do to so many others around you. Even that bowling ball of a man I saw you squishing faces with, his arms barely able to stretch around his own belly to wrap around you as you rocked slowly together behind your bedroom window. It was such a wonder to me how he was not greeted as I was, what with the cruel things I'd seen him doing. I'd wondered how the fear would gleam in your eyes once you'd finally learned the truth about the man you let stay in your bed. All those dirty and lustful glances he'd given the children at the park when you were not around, telling you he had late meetings so he could take the long way and feed his devilish desires, window shopping the younglings as they played. Yet you did not look at him as the foul and disgusting monster he was. Instead, it was I with whom you'd shown such disgust and foulness, a violent terror shooting through those eyes at my unveiling this evening. You were certainly not how I'd hoped you would be. You were just like the others, who saw my burned and battered face, the scarred and charred mask of skin I'd been forced to present. I saw the judgment glinting between your lashes, just like the rest of them. Monster, they'd called me, without even giving me a chance, without even a hello or a flicker of pity. Even that I would have understood, maybe even welcomed. Perhaps that was what I'd been missing. A sympathizing and tender outreach. A compassionate soul there to guide me towards the light. After all, darkness was all I had ever known, all I had ever seen, save for the blinding blaze of the flames my mother tossed me into, spouting about how I'd belonged in hell for devouring my twin brother before he'd had a chance. I'd heard people say there is darkness in all of us. Perhaps I'd consumed all of my brother's when I took his life for my own. Perhaps we would have been all right if he'd not vanished before his first breath. Though perhaps not. What with the mother we had, he'd gotten the better end of the deal, I'd supposed. And what had mother expected? She, the tree, I, the apple. For years, I tried to be a good person. I tried to be anything but the sum of my scars. Tried to make friends. Tried to reach out. But you tell me how much of it one can take before he breaks. 1 year? 5 years? A decade? Try 3 decades. 30 years. Monster. You hear it enough. You start to believe it. No one gave me a chance. No one gave me the time of day. Just gruesome looks and disdained scowls. No hello nods passing on the streets or returned waves. No pleases and thank yous at the shops. Just flashes of fear and short silent submissions. Anything to end our interactions quickly. People saw me dance on a monster. So, I'd said, a monster? That's what you want? That's what you get. I'd decided I'd become the very thing deserving of those unpleasant greetings. I'd become the thing people always feared to be true, hiding away, seeking comfort in darkness, making nightmares a reality. What freedom, what relief to finally surrender to myself. Mother would have been proud, I'd thought, though I never did lift the pillow to find out, as she wiggled and writhed beneath my arms. Just a couple of minutes, Mother. You'll see your son soon. Even then, I wasn't convinced I was monstrous enough for her. After all, I'd done her a favor. Her death, my first, was much gentler than the ones who'd followed. The kindness I'd shown my mother was perhaps the last bit that existed in my body. Or, so I'd thought. The day that I met you enlivened a remaining ember I hadn't realized was still burning. There was a weak and muted flicker of something other than darkness that remained somewhere deep inside me, somewhere you were able to touch. Do you remember? That day at the coffee shop, your purple polka dot headband tied primly in a bow, your hair pulled back into a high bun with just a few curly strays dancing around the edges of your cheeks. How you'd actually smiled at me before asking for my order, and then how you'd thanked me once I'd paid, wishing me a good day. There was no grimace in your manner, no hesitation at my mutilated face. You were so pretty, so kind. Not like my mother, not like any of the others. How had I gone so many years without this perfect human? That is the most profound thing about darkness. Even a flash of light is enough to change the entire atmosphere. You were that light, So there was still goodness in the world. There was still hope for me. Past be damned. You showed me that, and so I'd followed you home that day, and many of the days since then. I watched you. I protected you, like the rarity that you were. I tried to preserve your kindness, study it, waiting in the shadows for our next encounter. And when I discovered there was already a man in your life, I'd followed him too. I had to make sure you were safe, that no one was threatening your goodness, as if your light was already spreading to me, the way fire always does. I cared for you by taking care of him. There was no room for a pedophile in your life. He was a threat to you, a rapid of white waters sure to extinguish you. I couldn't let that happen, but after he was gone, you disappeared. The next day, when I went into the coffee house, hoping to see you, expecting to see you, sparkling with relief and joy, for finally you were free. I did that. I'd envisioned it many times, me waltzing into your shop, you ready with open arms to thank me. Me, your savior. You, my savior. But you were not there. Then, or the next day, or the next. Where were you? I watched outside your house, the lights going on in the morning, then off as the evening turned to night. But you did not leave. You'd disappeared in plain sight, left me alone, locked yourself up in your house, as if freedom meant absolutely nothing to you. Had it been one more day out there waiting, I'll admit, I'm not sure I could have forgiven you for such ingratitude. So, you can imagine my delight when you stepped out for a walk this evening, the horizon still bleeding its last drops into the twilight, like a sign. You, my last dash of hope. Monster, they'd called me. They, but not you. So, why then did you scream? Why such a vile and repulsive response at the sight of me as I stepped out into the light to greet you? What had changed between our first meeting? I did not take you for flighty, and yet you'd made my breath go raspy and harsh in our chase, as if I were a wolf and you, a delectable lamb. I'd only wished to greet you, to reacquaint ourselves after our unbearable separation, to refortify the promise of our union. That was the moment I'd realized it. Those endless, suffocating seconds. You were just like the others. There was no light in you at all. You saw me as they did. Monster, imagine the anger. Imagine the betrayal. I'd only ever wanted to be with you, to be more like you. But oh, how you fooled me. You were much harder to carry to the car than I'd thought you'd be. And you certainly had a strong and fiery fight in you. I suppose that was the light I thought I'd seen. Because looking at you now as you lay on my table, there is neither life nor light behind those white unblinking eyes. Monster with two faces. She tries to persuade me every time I see her. The problem is, she doesn't know me like I know me. She doesn't know I have two faces. One, an angelic face, acceptable to society. It's the one I show her and everyone else. The other face is an unsettling one, with the coolness of its dead gray eyes and the chill of its lifeless skin. I keep it locked inside the most hidden parts of me. I can't show it to the world. They won't accept it. "How are you doing today, Nicole?" she asks as she sips her chamomile tea. The smell makes me nauseous. I hate the smell of lavender. If not the lavender, it could be the honey. Whatever smell exists inside her cup, making her so calm. My fingers itch to shatter the mug in her hands and watch her lose her composure. I detest the way she tilts her head. Mostly, I can't stand the pity in her eyes as she uses her words to claw at my layers. She wants to understand me. I want to understand why she wastes her time. I've spent years with myself, and even I don't know how I became this sick creature writhing in on itself in front of her. Actually, that's a lie. It takes a monster to create a monster. Still, what happens when a monster wants to become human? I search her face like she holds the keys to my humanity. I can't complain. I smile through my words. Life treats me well enough. The clock ticks down on the wall like a slow, dripping faucet. 58 minutes to go. She watches me watch the door. I imagine I look like a dog thrown in a tub for a bath. I need to be clean, yet I watch the door because I hate the water. I watch it like my life depends on it. Any second, the door will crack open with an escape from this horrible magnifying glass I'm under. I wait for more words to pour out of her like suds, washing away the dirtiest parts of me. Last time, we made real progress. I'm proud of you for sharing pieces of your past. It can be hard to share parts of yourself with a stranger. Her words irritate my nervous system, setting me on edge. I'm not sharing parts of me to make her proud. She speaks to me like I have a choice being here. I don't have a choice. I am sick. I am so sick inside. Society says sitting on a couch is the answer to sewing my aching flesh back together into something that looks human. It isn't hard, actually. When I talk about myself, I don't feel anything at all. It's like talking about a stranger to a stranger. She takes another slow sip of her disgusting tea and pierces me with her eyes. They're green with layers of yellow, like a dying lawn on a hot summer's day. Her legs cross in crisp pants, white like hospital walls. I stare with an empty feeling in my chest at her sandals. Her toes peek through the tops with a fresh red pedicure. Rich blonde highlights color her hair. Not a single strand out of place. She holds herself together with confidence and grace. I can't help wondering what it's like to love yourself like that. I can't help wondering what it's like to love yourself at all. Last time we spoke about your uncle. Do you want to talk more about what happened? How's your boyfriend? I ask. Is he still out of town? Must be hard. She takes the bait. He should be back the 1st of next month. We spend the next 30 minutes talking about the places he travels for work. She's oblivious to the way I can bat around our conversations like a cat with a mouse. I can't say why I waste these sessions like this. I can, but no one will like the answer. I waste them because I want help, and I don't want help. I want to pretend I'm putting in the work to be more human. Look at me. I am one step closer to being like all the other humans around me. I'm not an empty shell. I am not a monster. With 10 minutes of our session left on the clock, I feel safe sliding over another dirty part of me for her to clean. My fingers tangle themselves in the gray fleece blanket on her couch while I choose my words. I won't tell her the full truth. I'll tell her half and see how she reacts. You never know with humans. They say they want to help you. They only want what's best for you. In my experience, they will throw you under the bus the moment it serves them. I'm not condemning them. Don't get me wrong. How could I? I do the same thing and worse. Sometimes I throw people under the bus for no reason other than because I feel like it. I think I have an addiction, I confess. Her response is safe and neutral. A lot of people struggle with addictions. It takes a lot of courage to ask for help. I rearrange my face into what I think looks like relief. That makes me feel better. Her lips are glossed over with rosy pink tint. I watch, fascinated with the way they glisten as she speaks. What are you struggling with? I pause before I answer. I'm shifting through my memories of the night before. I've been seeing the same man for 6 weeks. His name isn't important. I don't bother too often with things like that. It lasted a little longer this time than it usually does. Thoughts of his hands on my thighs and his lips on my neck make me shiver. I consider how to tell this perfect blonde woman in front of me how sex is the only thing that makes me feel anything at all. 6 weeks before him, it was someone who only lasted 10 minutes. Anthony, was it? We locked eyes in the elevator on our way to biology. College campus was always deserted for our late-night classes. He had dark hair and a lazy smile. His brown eyes lingered on mine a bit too long after the doors closed. And I knew. I closed the gap between us and slipped my tongue into his mouth. He tasted like strawberry Pop-Tarts. He didn't move for a moment, and then there he was, sliding warm hands up my dress like they had a right to be there. Men are like that. I can't seem to stop eating, I confess. We have only a few minutes left of our session. She spends this time talking to me about how to sit with cravings. It's all in one ear and out the other. She tells me when the impulses hit me, try to resist for as long as I can. If I can resist for 1 hour, resist for 1 hour. If I can resist for 5 minutes, resist for 5 minutes. I smile and thank her for the session. You help me so much. I am grateful for these discussions. I can't tell you how much you've done for me since I started seeing you for therapy. I lie. I quickly shoot for the door. An hour of compassion, real or fake, is too much for me. It makes my skin crawl when people show things like affection or kindness. I wish she would tell me I'm disgusting. I long to hear her tell me I am a waste of space who can't be saved. Anything out of those perfect pink lips resembling the truth. Instead, she wastes all our time with empty words as she tries to convince me I am not a monster. Hours after our session, I find myself with a strange man I don't know. We had talked earlier on a dating app. He's attractive enough, with a single dimple on his left cheek when he smiles. Not that looks really matter much to me. I slide into a green Toyota Camry with a missing passenger mirror. It smells like cigarettes and old fast food bags. Baby, you are so hot, he tells me as he paws at my thigh with his calloused fingers. I'll be honest, there is a small part of me who wishes I would stop doing this to myself. I hate the way I give myself to anyone who asks. Yet, that's the thing about addictions. Even if you hate yourself for it, you can't stop. I take his hand and slide it further up my skirt. I hear him breathe in deep, and I can tell how much he wants me. His car brings us to a gloomy-looking house in a sketchy part of town. We are in a dark room that smells like sweat. Before I can blink, he is on me. His fingers are wrapping around my throat. He holds me down, taking what he wants. His other hand is lost in my hair. He pulls it rough enough. It stings, bringing tears to my eyes. I want to scream for him to stop. I don't. Like I told you before, I'm sick inside. I hold myself hostage and force myself to lay still. I won't escape from this. I'll stay until I learn to love it. If I were a bit more human, this would be nothing for me. I'd love it all the same ways all the other humans do. It's only because I am a monster that I feel disgusting inside. The night sky is empty, abandoned by the moon, as we climb in the car for him to take me home. He tells me how captivated he is by my smile. How when he saw it for the first time, he felt like he was the only person left in the world. He asks me when he can see me again. I already know the answer as I climb from his car to the asphalt parking lot, glittering in the street light. The concrete stairwell swallows me into its many shadows, and I am indifferent to the fact I'll never see him again. Another week passes, and I am on her couch again, the therapist. I can feel the bruises on my thighs. There are marks all over my body she can't see, even as I sit in front of her. It's always like this. How often do we sit in front of another person's eyes, and they can't see the wounds covering us? It makes me laugh. Part of me thinks I should confess. I don't bother. You can't tell someone about the wounds you inflict on yourself. Wasn't I asking for it? How are we doing this week, Nicole? I'm fine. How are you? Small talk makes me gag. Even so, I've learned to play the game over the years. It's empty when someone asks you how you are. They ask, yet I promise, when you tell them what's really beneath your surface, they will avoid you after. We're all liars here. Monsters like me are more willing to admit the truth. Ironic, isn't it? How are the nightmares? My body clenches at her words, like she hit me. This is what I'm here for, I remind myself. I'm here to fix my disfigured mind, my malformed thinking, my disturbed existence. I'm here to become human again. He was in them, I admit. As soon as I say the words, he's there with me on the couch. He tucks loose pieces of hair behind my ear and drags me back to our memories together. You're such a pretty girl, Nicole. You know it, don't you? I am 10 years old again, and I nod. I love it when he makes me feel special like this. I am the only one he talks to this way. I mean so much to him. He places an innocent hand on my shoulder and then pulls with long fingers at the lace on my sleeves. Do you like this dress I bought for you? I love it, I tell him, while I give the white lacy dress a twirl for his viewing pleasure. I never knew my dad, so this relationship is special for me. Uncle Dean always goes out of his way to do nice things for my sake. No one has to tell me how lucky I am to have him take care of me. He pulls me onto his lap, where he tugs at my fly-away curls, twisting their chestnut-colored locks in his hands. People tell him all the time what a cute little girl he has. They tell me I look like him. It's almost as if I'm his daughter and not his niece. I've been thinking, Nicole, you are getting older now. And with what a pretty girl you're turning out to be, we have some things to talk about. I look at his eyes, a cold mixture of gray and blue, and hang on to his every word. I've noticed in the past the way people look at him when we go out together. His hair is blonde and wavy, in a way that complements his fair skin. His shoulders are broad, and the arms he holds me with are strong, with thick muscles. He's handsome. It's not just me who listens when he speaks. It's like the people around him can't help it. His words are always captivating. His smile makes you feel like you are the only person in the world. I'm proud he belongs to me. I'm worried boys will start giving you problems. He frowns, and it crushes me. I study his lips and wonder what's wrong with me, that boys will give me problems. I can't stand the look of displeasure on his face. I'll do anything to replace it with a smile. My fingers find the bottom of my dress, where I tear at it helplessly. I can't let myself be a burden to him, not when he took responsibility for a child who wasn't his. I think it's important for me to teach you how to handle them for when you're older, don't you think? I nod, eager to cheer him up. You're a good girl, Nicole. I know you'll do fine. He leans in close to my ear, with my curls still twisted in his fingers. When you get older, men will expect you to please them. I don't want you to worry. I'll teach you how. I'll teach you everything you need to know. A voice startles me from my memories. Nicole? Nicole? Where did you go? I look up and see her, the therapist, the one who is supposed to hold all the answers to my questions, the angel who tells me none of this is my fault, and how I am not the monster he made me. I smile towards her, as if I had been here on the couch with her the whole time. I smile as if I don't remember every single lesson he taught me. Is everything all right? Her eyes are concerned. You have tears running down your face. I lift a hand to my cheek and realize she's telling the truth. I touch the wetness with fingers that don't feel like my own. This happens to me all the time. I'm in my body, but I'm not. I don't understand where the tears come from either. After all, I am a monster. I'm numb. Whether I hurt others or make them laugh, I feel nothing inside me at all. This is a safe place, Nicole. I'm here to listen. I can't help finding her words amusing. I've been to safe places before, you see. That's where I discovered safe places are the most dangerous places of all. The places where you let down your guard and trust the people around you, leave you vulnerable. Those kinds of places are where monsters live. You enter them and never know they're watching you, waiting. They wait for the moments they can bury their claws into your flesh, taking things from you that you will never get back. Monsters are real, despite those who lack conviction. It's only fools who believe in safe places. Last night, I sat on my kitchen floor and ate an entire cake. I lie to her again. I couldn't stop myself. Don't you think that makes me disgusting? I can't tell if her sympathy is real or fake. I can't tell if she only has one face, the face she looks at me with, or if she too has another one buried deep inside her. I study her cheetah print shirt and the gold hoop earrings underneath her straightened hair. I can't tell if she's human or if she's another monster like me. We hide so well sometimes that we don't even recognize the monsters deep inside ourselves. Of course, I don't think that, she tells me. Her words offer me the smallest amount of relief. I feel myself relax for only a fraction of a second. It's all I can ever relax after I turned into this creature. I give her my best smile. You don't think I'm a monster? She reassures me she doesn't. I slide out of her heavy wooden door after the rest of our session has passed and remind myself she is a professional. If she saw a human without a beating heart in front of her, she would know it wasn't human anymore. The fact that she doesn't, it means there is still hope for me behind closed doors. Have you seen this boy? The woman behind the chained door shook her head at the creased photograph. He's 6 here, Anna urged, but he's closer to 8 now. Ain't seen him. Sorry, truly I am. The woman hung her head, closing the door. Anna had almost gotten used to it. The slamming doors, the constant barrage of no's, dejected looks momentarily sharing her horror. Then straight back to daily life with the squeak of a hinge and the click of a lock. That's just what normal people do. Life goes on, for most. Times she wished she could close the door on it, say goodbye, give up. But what kind of mother would that make her? Sliding the photo into her inside jacket pocket, she pressed it to her chest, where he belonged. Men huddled on the apartment steps, threw dice, and glared at her as she left. Women shouting from sash windows at kids playing on the street shook their heads at the sight of her. Sorrow? Pity? Repulsion? She didn't know, nor care. By reputation alone, most everyone in Hartsville knew her, or of her. She'd become as much a lost soul as little Jimmy, except no one hunted for her. Not anymore. Released without substantial evidence is how the lawyers explained it. Not innocent, not guilty. Somewhere in between, and cast into the worst court of them all, the public. Half the town and all her family blamed her for Jimmy's disappearance, and half again thought she murdered him. Some things just don't rub out after printing. Drawing deep from a cigarette, she leaned against the rust bucket she called a car, and home, its windows crowded with the few possessions her former husband allowed her to have. Gazing up and down the street, she considered how much longer she could do this. How many more shoes could she wear through? How many? Hey, you, Anna turned, searching for the smooth voice. A tall figure lurked in the alleyway opposite, features hidden by the descending sun, intentions none the plainer. Cocking an eyebrow, she pointed to her chest. "Yeah, you, come here." Waving her over, he disappeared into the poster-tattered passage. Discarding the cigarette, she made a show of tucking her 4-day fresh white tank top into her equally dirty jeans. In reality, she ran a hand under her cargo jacket, making sure the snub nose would be easy to pull. Only a fool came into the Devil's Basement, as the locals called it, unready, unprotected, or more worrying, unwilling to do what might be needed to be done. Steadying her breathing, she edged between the cars and made for the mystery man, standing at the other end now, 1 foot on the crumbling red brickwork, arms folded, eyes closed, his head tilted to the gathering clouds. "What do you want?" she asked, placing her hands on her hips. "Not me." He didn't open his eyes. "Well, who? Boss man. Should that mean something to me? Maybe. It doesn't. Now what's this about? He needs a job doing. Says you're the woman for it. Sorry, don't do job interviews in back alleyways." She turned, throwing a dismissive wave over her shoulder. "Here now, woman. Before you go, he wants you to have this." He extended a closed fist, finally opening his eyes. She stepped back, squinting in disbelief at his yellow stare, blazing like the midsummer sun. Nonetheless, curiosity sunk its teeth into her. "What's that? A gift? If you like, more be waiting after a ride in that car down there." Nodding toward the perpendicular laneway, Anna leaned out, all cautious, like to spot a rumbling estate wagon. "Who's in that? And where would it take me?" "Trust me, woman. You ain't going to care after you see this." He waggled his fist. She extended a shaking palm. His fingers unfurled. Her heart stopped, then hammered, temple thumping loud. Impossible. Stomach knotting, hairs spiked the length of her neck. How? Dizziness overcame her, faint, happy, angry. It was all too much. Tears welled as she lifted that tiny yellow watch. The one with the cracked Power Ranger face Jimmy flipped open and shut when he got nervous. Terrified of the answer, yet hoping it to be true, she turned it over. J.C. engraved on its back. Jimmy Crawford, her Jimmy. She took off before her reeling mind could catch up, and within seconds flung open the car door. She knew the kind of mother she was. Relentless, the bag over her head didn't scare her, nor the machete-wielding woman next to her. Not even the fact they'd been driving for at least an hour now. No. What scared her was herself. She just jumped without thinking. Anyone could have faked that watch. It was common knowledge he wore one the day he disappeared, but not the engraving Jimmy did with a nail. Or was it? She racked her memory. The car slowed to a stop. Another stop sign. Traffic. The cops? With a mechanical click, the doors unlocked, swung open, and someone seized her elbow. "Let's go, woman." Her bated breath gathered like dew under her nose. Stones crunched underfoot. Then a hinge complained as what sounded like a heavy metal door groaned open. "There's steps here. Wouldn't it be easier to take this thing off?" Anna asked, trying to add a little unfelt humor to her voice. A sharp jab between her shoulders was the only reply. She didn't ask any more questions, humorous or not. The descent stretched impossibly long, like the moment you see a child falling, but are too slow to react. With each step, the heat grew inferno hot. Sweat matted her hair, dampened her talk, stung her eyes. Where were they taking her? What did they want? Another door opened. The stench of sweat and sewage hitting her harder than a bat. Then music, laughter, glasses clinking. Prodded onwards, silence fell in her wake. Pushed into a chair, she grunted. Canvas bag whipped from her head. She panted the stale air. The room flickered. Tiny flames dancing behind red glass scattered across a discord of tables. Everything blurred as if staring through a heat wave. Licking her lips, she tried making sense of the shapes. Like a head swelling adrenaline rush, everything stopped swaying and came rushing into sobering focus. Hunched over a curved counter, a man fished juicy maggots from a writhing jar, then dropped them, slurping into his toothless mouth. Two skeletal, thin women, wearing nothing but dog collars, curled at the feet of an obese man, rubbing goose fat through his hair. Young men howled at a geriatric pole dancer, whilst an amputee burn victim served curdled milk. All the while, a man on a small stage played dirty blues on a gore-splattered guitar, face a snarled rictus, fingers bloody stumps, vomit climbing her throat, blood draining from her face. She gripped the round table as a drowning man may grip driftwood. Jesus Christ, not quite. She spun to the chocolate, rich-voiced stranger opposite. He wore a smoldering cigar on thin lips, a sneer in his ember eyes, yellowish smoke drifting from flared nostrils. "You this boss, man?" He nodded. Courage boiled from the gun in her waistband. "Where's my boy?" Around. He waved a hand festooned with many rings across the debauchery on display. "You'll see him when the time's right, when the deal is done." He leaned from the shadows, elbows making the table creak. "Prove it. Prove he's here." Yellow eyes dropped a tattered ball of fabric into boss man waiting palm. Then he threw it at Anna. Unrolling that faded Superman t-shirt, her chin trembled. Jimmy's t-shirt. What happened to him? Did these people hurt him? She swallowed her fear and the urge to run. Jimmy was here. After 2 years, she finally found something. Something more terrifying than these foul bastards. Hope, what do you want? Where did you get this? She cuddled the disintegrating garment. No small talk. She held his burning gaze. Fair enough. He was wearing it when we found him. Where? Not far. Right under your nose, actually. A neighbor. A fucking what? She leapt up, anger hammering her chest. He held out his hands. Calm, Anna. I'm here to help, Anna. Help? Why? Let's say I've a soft spot for the innocent and outcast. He gestured to sit. She complied. Although it's not the only reason. You see, I provide a service to our little community of Hartville. And you, well, you are 2 birds, 1 stone. Wouldn't it be nice to stop running? Get the vengeance you deserve. Vengeance? I just want my son. Please. Her voice broke, unstoppable tears falling. You'll want revenge. Boss man studied his nails without a care in the world. A local woman came to me, told me of a man, a terrible man, patrolling the local parks and schools. Said he was offering sweets and toys to her nieces to get into his van. Smart girls ran away. The police, however, did little. The law is weak that way. He paused, puffed his cigar, and blew smoke into Anna's face. So I sent some of my hounds, he nodded to Yellow Eyes and Machete, to rain some hell on this pervert. Thing is, it was clear that his house, his deviant prison, was being used by more than just him. A ring, as they say. We searched the premises, found poor Jimmy chained to a bed frame in the basement with 2 others, little more than malnourished sex dolls. Anna's stomach turned, terror and anger searing her insides. She wanted to hurt someone, anyone. A little torture goes a long way, Anna. Remove a little flesh, and tada, the pervert gave up the names of his accomplices. Would you like to know who they are? Jaw clenched. She hissed the word. Who? I'll give you 3 names. You do what needs to be done. You'll see your boy again. We have a deal? How will I get back here? I don't know. Levi will go with you. Yellow's eyes winked at her. So, is that a yes? No sooner had she agreed than that damn canvas bag was pulled over her head once more. Anna dove into the station wagon's back seat, ears ringing, heart thumping, throat choked with the metallic aftertaste of gunpowder. Levi smiled between the seats. Damn, Miss Crawford, you a cold bitch. No hesitation. He opens the door, and you just fucking drive already. Anna barked, balling the cuff of her jacket and rubbing at the crimson mottling her face. Ha, okay, you the boss tonight. Anna stared out the rear window at the tree-lined street and white picket fences speeding by. Concerned neighbors stumbling into the road to investigate the woman, wailing over her husband's body at 46 Broken Ridge Avenue. Little did they know the service Anna just did for them. eradicated suburban filth. First of 3, she rested the revolver on her knee. Somehow, it felt lighter, as if that one bullet carried away the weight of her suffering, her loss. But he wasn't lost. He was waiting for her. Something unexpected curled the edge of her lip. "You smiling, Miss Crawford?" Levi asked into the rearview mirror. "You are. Cold bitch. You're going to fit real nice." She shook her head, dismissing both comment and grin. "Who's next?" "Edward." "Calhoun." Anna repeated the name, tracking her finger down the apartment buzzer's nameplates. There you are. 2 short buzzes, a click, a cough, then, "Hello, who's there?" "Mr. Calhoun. Sorry to disturb you." She already picked a name from those displayed. "This is Jessica Longstein. I've lost my key again. And you were the first to..." Yeah. The electrical hum of the magnetic release sent a chill down her spine. Not fear, but anticipation. One step closer to Jimmy, 4 flights of stairs. One long, worn, carpeted hallway. And she stood outside his peeling door. Patiently, she waited for a Latino couple to get on the elevator, then knocked, placing a hand over the spyglass. Floorboards groaned from within. A chain rattled, a bolt slid, and she found herself staring at a stout, unshaven man in his 50s, wearing a blue telecoms shirt. "What can I do for you, Missy?" "This is for Jimmy." His eyes stretched, fearful wide. At the name, the crazed redhead at his door, or the gun inches from his face. It didn't matter. Pull, click, bang. His last thoughts sprayed over the cracked plaster inside, his body collapsing as though its bones turned to mud. For a second, she watched him, hopeless, pathetic, no longer a danger. She breathed deep. 1 to go. "Miss Crawford." "Yo, Anna." Startling awake, she grabbed Levi's poking hand, blinked into focus, then looked about. She lay in the back of the car. A cul-de-sac of 2-story houses loomed outside, quiet with barely a light on, the moon hanging low, shimmering off their slate roofs. Anna stretched, cracked her neck, then shook her face. "How long were we driving? I can't believe I fell asleep." "It's the adrenaline. Big come down. Happens all the time. I took the long way here. Had to avoid prying eyes. That last one definitely got some flashing light attention. But this is it here, Miss Crawford." Levi pointed out the side window to a silhouetted figured light by the glow of a computer screen, typing into the small hours. Anna sucked her teeth, sniffed, pulled the lapels of her jacket, then checked her gun. Dirty bastard was probably on some chat site, pretending to be a teen girl or some other filth. "You ready?" "And willing," Anna answered, shuffling and gently closing the door. She caught sight of her reflection, frazzled and blood specked, and an idea fizzled into being. She grabbed her arm, dragged her leg, and hobbled towards the downstairs window. It didn't take long for him to spot her. Taking off his glasses, he twitched the curtains. "Mister, please," she whimpered. "I went off the road, round the corner. I need..." Holding up a hand, he dashed from the room. A porch light sparked to life, and the front door opened. "You okay, lady? What the hell?" He spun, roaring, as the bullet tore through his shoulder. He tried dragging himself back across the perfectly manicured lawn, but it was useless. The hammer fell. Back of the head, he jerked, spasmed, fell still. It was done. She smiled, running back to the car. She could already feel Jimmy in her arms. Her sweet, innocent little Jimmy. The macabre cabaret garnered no interest this time around, and she stared straight at Boss Man when the canvas bag was removed. "My boy," she said, not a request, placing the revolver on the table before her. He smiled, swirled a glass of red wine, drank, then nodded to no one in particular. Eternity stretched out before her, biting her lip, fingers drumming the scarred tabletop. She couldn't quite believe it. She'd finally found him. Two great bulking necklace forms lumbered from the shadows, a metal box held between them. It thudded onto the table before her. Boss Man grinned, tapping its top. Giggles simmered behind her as she lifted the lid with trembling hands. Tears exploded, lip quivering, shoulders shaking. There was no mistaking it. Those cheekbones, large, hollow eyes, even the skin dried and rippled as it was. She touched his forehead, sweeping away a dirty blonde fringe, and kissed him. She pulled his cracking and snapping corpse into her arms, his jaw swinging open in one last horrific scream. Falling to her knees, she pressed him close to her chest, where he belonged. Why didn't you tell me?" she spluttered between sobs. "I said you'd see him again. Here you go." Laughter rose like hyenas on the hunt. The unwashed bodies pressing coffin close around her. "It's okay, honey," she whispered to her son, rocking back and forth. "I got the bastards. I got them. 2 of them, anyway," Boss Man sneered. "What?" I said there were accomplices. I didn't say all 3 were. You humans are so eager to jump to your worst instincts. Oh dear God. Oh God. He can't help you, Anna. We have a long-standing arrangement. He finished the wine with a lip smack. "Why are you doing this to me? You're monsters, all of you." Boss Man leaned forward. "Didn't I say I've a soft spot for the innocent? Poor Jimmy suffered because of you. You're the monster who left her 6-year-old son alone in the park whilst you scored some smack," she wailed. "I'm clean now. It seemed pointless to try to explain. It wasn't going to bring him back. "What the fuck are you?" she roared. "You know already. You've always known. And now you're mine. forevermore. To a cacophony of laughter, she lowered Jimmy's remains back into the metal box, slowly closed the squeaking hinge, said goodbye, and gave up. Her finger wrapped around the trigger, the barrel cold beneath her chin. Perhaps in death she could be a better kind of mother. See you soon, son.